No.
Oh.
Let's go.
It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledge it, knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Thunderdome. This is Topic Thunder, your favorite podcast emanating from Texas, Illinois at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on a Monday night. It's your favorite podcast in that exact possible time slot and scenario. So we thank you for joining us here on the show. My name is Brooks. Of course, that's Ben. And hey, just a full disclosure, we were having a little bit of technical difficulties up front there, so we're a little bit tardy in this. So if Ben starts to sound a little sketchy, let us know
in the comments. Yes, I had, when I redesigned the studio, as you can see, I did a little bit of redesigning. I had to unhook my board, and whenever I unhook the board, I never really know what's going to happen when I hook it back up again. Yesterday, for Now and Then Wrestling, I didn't have any problems, although I couldn't play out anything. So I guess I hope I fixed the problem here, because we're going to play a little bit of video. But before we play that video, Brooks, you got a little bit of something you want to ask the audience.
Yeah, so we took to heart what had happened last week as far as the little bit of censorship that happened when sturdy listener and follower of the show, my Aunt Chris, said fucking Russians, right? And no matter how you feel about the whole scenario, we shouldn't be censored in a chat room,
right?
When just something as innocuous as that, and that does no harm outside of our little bubble here, right? So we're going to humbly ask everyone, as we begin this migration to our own little kind of corner of cyberspace, but we're going to start moving away from Facebook as a platform. Because let's be honest, you don't have to dig too far into today's news to kind of find out how much it sucks. And the people behind it kind of flat out suck out loud, right?
Correct. The metaverse, as you will, is now being called, or will be called soon, I guess.
Right, which is a corruption of something that was once thought of as very beautiful, and now it's going to become this, whatever, the Matrix, however you want to look at it, right? So we are going to humbly ask you all to get yourselves a Twitch account and find us on Twitch. Here's why. Because with Facebook's algorithm, we're not seeing any kind of traction as far as like getting out there and whatever it is, or maybe we're not putting enough money or whatever, right? But on Twitch, the algorithm is whenever there's interactions and the more people that watch, the more it kind of definitely gets bumped up into like a random kind of like
where it comes up on the front screen, right?
Right. And if you ever logged into Twitch, it's kind of like almost like an old school Rolodex of just like a bunch of kind of different streams that are going on, and they are handsome faces that show up there. Yeah. So what we're asking humbly everybody is to go get yourself a Twitch account. Now you might be asking, well, we're watching right now, Brooks, and well, what are we supposed to do? Like stop watching while we go sign up for this Twitch account? Well, actually, yes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a little break. We're going to play the previously on, which I think actually been shop talk live. I think we should call it topic recall.
I like it. Like Total Recall. I like it like topic. I like that.
So we're going to do some topic recall, the previously on. We're going to play, I don't know, I think it's about 3 or 4 minutes. So to give you guys all a chance to go and find yourselves a Twitch account while this video plays, and then we'll get back into gear and kick the show off with a proper beverage and get to all the good stuff that lies ahead.
Indeed. So without further ado, please, like we said, oh no, where did it go, you motherfuckers? No, stop screen sharing. Why did it fucking disappear on me?
Oh no,
you motherfucker.
Folks, even the best laid plans of mice and men.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that, but here we go. Let's try it one more time.
Courtney's on.
No, whenever. Why are you fucking with me, computer? Why must you fuck with me all the time? Here we go.
Hi.
All right. So it's hilarious, but apparently you guys can't hear anything that's playing out, which is really disappointing. I don't know what the fuck I did and how I fucked this up, but my microphone is fucked up, which means if there's any audio that you wanted to play,
we'll podcast for you. We'll podcast for
what's
you.
What's fucked up is that people can hear us on the mics, but when I play something through my computer, it's not working properly. I'm gonna fuck around with the settings here and hopefully I'll get this figured out. So I apologize in advance.
In times like these, Ben, there's only one thing that we can possibly do, and that's have ourselves a drink.
Indeed. And here I am already fucking up that too.
Yeah, we don't even need the music because do 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 da ba do 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 ba da ba. So hey, folks, ladies and gentlemen,
fucking mess.
Shout out to Nick Cutler joining the show, I believe for the first time. And thanks for everybody who jumped over to the Twitch feed, and let's make some plans again to do the Twitch feed. But tonight's beer, we're going back to beer, brought to the table by the one and only, the worldly talented Gigi. This is Alpha Claus from the fine people over at Three Floyds Brewing in Indiana.
Ooh, I like that. That bottle's fucking cool.
Yeah, they're one of those really cool bottle people, right? But also they make a badass beer. And this is a porter. I'll read the description as they present it on their website. Alpha King's festive cousin, and a big American Xmas porter brewed with English chocolate malt, Mexican sugar, and of course, tons of strange American hops. So I'm in. I've already had one today, and that might be contributing to the audio and physical problems maybe forthcoming in the show. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Cheers to you, folks.
So I'm seeing Ryan Hansen can't find the Twitch app on his device. That's okay. It looks like some people are still finding their way over because I'm just seeing how many viewers we have live at the moment, and we're lagging just a smidge. But I hope we didn't fuck everything up by asking everybody to switch over to Twitch, and now like all the regular people have now left us, and here we are with like 3 people that would normally be listening to the show.
What besides football and like Raw, and if you're at this point, if you're watching, I can get watching football if you're gambling, like watching it live if you're gambling, or if you have a rooting interest in the fan. But if you're watching either of those two sports, outside of those two parameters, not like recorded your hour and a half in, then you sit down, you're doing it wrong, folks. Because who's watching Raw these days? I'm sure people are.
Not me, and I have a wrestling podcast, and I'm not even watching it.
Right. I just don't understand how that product still. I mean, I understand, but I just don't get it. And that's why we're asking everybody to do this Twitch thing, because we think that we've got something fun outside, and I think people outside of our circle of friends and family would really enjoy what we got going on. And I think it would make things like the lightning round that much more fun and interesting when we have people that are just totally from outside our circle participating in everything. That's why we appreciate everybody that has switched over. We'll keep reminding, and if you can't do it this week and you just still got to watch on Facebook, by all means, watch where you can, but if you can, help us out, because it helps with the algorithm and everything like that. With that said, oh boy, there it is. I hear it. All right, sweet. Now we got music now,
so you can hear this. Okay,
it's really faint. It's really faint in the cans, in my cans, which is a professional term for a headphones.
I guess people help me out here. If you can you hear the music?
We'll podcast for ya. We'll podcast for ya. Jake the Snake was at C2E2 this weekend. Yeah, I guess
barely. People can barely hear it. I've got to figure this out, guys. I apologize in advance. The sound is going to be shit. As long as the sound coming from Brooks and I is clear and legible, for lack of a better term. I don't think that's the right term. As long as that's fine, that's fine. I promise I will get it figured out. I will tinker with it this week and try to get this figured out. I don't know what the fuck I did. I really fucked this up.
No,
I shouldn't have unhooked everything. That was my big mistake.
We've been doing this kind of version or variant of Topic Thunder for now over a year. So that's we did this show before that, so we don't need no stinking music to talk about stuff, do we? No,
Okay.
we just need a topic. Well, here we are. You didn't have to look too far, or if you lived in the Midwest, over the weekend there was a series, not just a series, it's like a tornado storm, right?
In December, which doesn't make any sense.
Right, and we can get into the implications of that too, but there's some really terrifying things that obviously occurred in Kentucky, Arkansas, Illinois, Tennessee, Missouri, as dozens of tornadoes, just kind of wrecked everything, right? And again, what you just said was really poignant. Like the middle of December, let's not skip past the human tragedy here. Is probably hundreds now of people, because I know that at least 74 were confirmed dead, and at least 100 were missing in just that one Kentucky town alone. So probably hundreds of people lost their lives to a force of nature that was only amplified by the current climate situation in a December that should have never reached like 50 degrees. Which basically made ripe tornado situations, apparently. Because
it's been 70 degrees and beautiful here, and it's funny because I get Facebook reminds you of your memories, and I go through them every day, and I have memories in my memories of like it being freezing and snow and shit this same time of year in the past, and here we are 70s. We haven't had a hint of snow. It's barely been freezing overnight here, so it's definitely something's going on.
It's December 13th in Chicago, and right now it's 42 degrees and partly cloudy.
That doesn't make sense.
Right, we haven't had snow yet. No appreciable snow. It had flurries for like a couple of hours one day. But let me tell you, as a lifelong resident of northern Illinois, to not have snow already approaching the middle of December, not usual.
Yeah.
Not usual.
And as Adrian points out, last year we had a snowstorm in March in West Texas. That makes no sense. So the weather is definitely goofy at the very least.
So goofy that I guess just 5 twisters hit Kentucky, right? This is one of the craziest things I've probably, seriously, and I mean this, and no hyperbole, ever heard in my entire life. That one of these tornadoes' paths was 200 miles long.
Yes, it went across 4 states, if I read correctly.
One tornado, 200 miles? Think about that. Let's think about it in driving terms, right? You're driving, let's just say 60 miles an hour. It's going to take you over 3 hours with no stops, driving a consistent 60 miles an hour to match that distance. That, from where I live right now, gets you into Wisconsin, gets you into Indiana, or gets into Iowa. Probably not down into like Kentucky or Tennessee for Southern Illinois, but that's a long ass stretch of land.
Sure fucking is.
Absolutely. The finger of God, as they call it, just kind of wiping out like whatever it comes in contact with. And one of the creepier things that I've seen of this is that it happened at night about 5:30, apparently.
In the morning?
No, at night.
In the evening.
In the evening, it was dark, right? So the power goes out. You can't see this thing except the lightning strikes that are illuminating like the outside of how big this thing was. And so people had no idea how much damage had been done because there's nothing to see. There's no light.
Yeah.
But the photos that are out there of
unbelievable.
Like, holy crap.
There's a weird photo. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but there's a photo of a church with the roof ripped off of it. And I don't know what to make of this, but the roof is torn off this building, but in the pews, all of the Bibles are untouched and unmoved. Right? I'm not a religious guy in any way, right? But I saw it because some religious people were like, "This is a sign," right? But it is weird in a way, right? That like, how did that happen? How did books in the pews go unmoved and untouched? When the roof came off the fucking place? It's weird. It's just odd.
But it's not a miracle, right? Because
It is not. It
the
is not
church was
God.
still destroyed, right? You would think that, like,
The
hey, you
town
know what?
is a fucking is rubble at this point.
I'm going to wipe out this town. I'm going to leave
Well,
the
I saved
Bibles
the
just in
Bibles.
case, so people believe that I was there and I had something to do with it. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, no, you don't want that kind of God. You don't want that First Testament kind of God, right?
No.
No,
The Old Testament
God.
He's spiteful, that motherfucker.
And let's face it, we're talking about two different dudes. If you really want to kind of slice that between Old and New Testament, or somebody who's off their meds, and I'm not sure which is which is better, to be honest with you, right? So
I just spit up on myself.
Almighty deity off his meds. Look out, everybody!
Yeah, no, but the pictures are horrific. I mean, you're talking about an entire town demolished.
So especially in that second story I sent you, the one from NBC News, in Mayfield, Kentucky, the candle factory.
Yeah, this story is infuriating.
Oh, right. So yeah, this is all right. So we'll talk about this right after we show you the absolute devastation of this, because there's two pictures, top and bottom. The top one is the before, and the bottom one is the after.
In this, oh yes, okay.
So let
me shrink this down a little bit to make it a little bit more easy to see. Okay, so this was the town before.
So that's just a factory, right? So
okay,
that building is center, that's the factory, and I believe I don't know if that's another business or a warehouse there,
something like
lower
that,
left, right? So that's what it was, and I believe 2017. Yes, the 2017.
Okay,
and then that's what's left.
Oh fuck! Holy shit! And from what I understand, there were hundreds of people in this building, in the candle factory, when this fucking shit happened, right? Am I right on that?
Hundreds of people that were told they can't go home.
Fucking A.
They were told they could not leave. In fact, I guess there were two alarms that went off. The first that caused everybody to like huddle up in bathrooms and specific hallways and stuff. If you've ever been like through like a tornado drill, they kind of usher you into like what they believe are safe zones. But let's be honest, there is nothing. You get lucky if your Bible doesn't leave the pew, right? Let alone like just getting leveled or having basically, I guess what amounts to about 75% of this town of Mayfield is just gone.
Yeah, and I from what I understand, there was also an Amazon factory somewhere along the path that had a very similar situation where 5 people died. And I saw one where the guy texted his wife, "Hey, we're gonna have to wait until after the storm," and she's like, "Why?" And because we can't leave, they won't let us leave. It's fucking crazy.
Now, and that was Edwardsville, Illinois. Where that happened. And yeah, I as many as 5. But again, you don't really know because even the people in the officials in Kentucky, a state famously welfare state with a certain senator that has basically voted no against federal.
Oh
relief.
yeah, but you can guarantee he was out there on Twitter talking about the letter he wrote asking for emergency funds for the state of Kentucky. Yeah, and Ilhan Omar perfectly blasted him on it, saying, "Yeah, now when it's you, now it's not unnecessary and wasteful and all the things that Rand Paul had said when it came to spending for other areas of the country that people were in need." Rand Paul is such a two-faced fucking grifting piece of shit. I hate that guy.
Well, okay, libertarians, where are you at? Where are the libertarians? Like, oh, what the community will take care of itself. All right, where are you at?
Yeah, no, they didn't.
Where's the whole premise behind being a libertarian, right? We don't need it. We can take care of ourselves. It's just the community will.
All we need is the government to protect our property rights. That's it.
What if there was some sort of centralized response with almost unlimited resources that could mobilize immediately across all 50 states, gathering assets and resources to help one little town of barely 10,000 people? Oh my God, what if? What a terrible idea. What an awful, communist, terrible, anti-American idea.
Right. Did they call the fire department to put out fires that were happening? Were police called to help in these situations? Yeah, all of those things are publicly funded things that libertarians like Rand Paul rail against all the time. And it's one of those things that you rail against it. You say, it's unnecessary, until it's you that needs those things. And then all of a sudden it's necessary. And you don't, these people don't see the hypocrisy in themselves, right? Like, it's only when it affects me is that when it matters. And that's just such a shitty way to look at things in life. It's just a shitty way to be part of a society and a community.
Let's be certain. This man has voted against hurricane relief. This man has voted against wildfire relief when basically the Northwest is on fire. He's like, figure it out. And so, yes, and now he's on bended knee, kissing the ring, asking for, demanding almost basically that the only possible organization or entity that capable of delivering such aid immediately to help this many people is the federal government, which this is one of the reasons I am happy to pay taxes for.
Yeah.
Do I like paying taxes at all? No, I don't think anybody does. But it kind of warms the cockles of my heart knowing that the few pennies that I'm personally paying to help these people, I happily give. Yeah. Right? To help other people. This is the perfect role of a centralized federal government. We can debate the other aspects of it for sure. But this is when it is necessary.
Yep.
To coordinate a response to save lives, save people. They have no power. They have no water. There's 17,000 boil orders for water.
Jesus.
Right? There's no gas. And it is December. And I believe temperatures are dropping to like 10 degrees at night.
Mm-hmm.
People are without homes. People are trapped under rubble. You mobilize everything. You mobilize the National Guard. You get the Army Corps of Engineers out there, whomever takes the call. The Cajun Navy, who we famously donated money to. And it's such, again, a socialist communist moment here on the show. Collective came together to do something nice for other people without asking for anything in return. Yep. So I guess we're libertarians in that regard because it worked here. But on a national disaster scale like this, maybe libertarians ought to rethink that position, that they can go it alone and figure it out as long as, they're okay. Yeah. Because let's face it, have you ever met a libertarian that hasn't already kind of made it?
No, very, very much not. Yeah, exactly. I do want to point out in the comments, there is a Twitch comment from an Amy Everclever, and I don't know if that is someone that we know that has gone over there.
That's the world famous Amy Cleaver. It's Gigi.
Oh, gotcha.
But
gotcha.
It's
okay. I knew it had to be someone from our crowd, but I was thinking maybe not. But yes, I do remember when Rand Paul got beat up by his neighbor, and I do think that more of his neighbors should beat him up.
And we're not advocating violence here, just so everybody knows.
I am.
Sometimes people just need to be punched in the eye, though, right?
Yes.
Right. Hey, all right. So we're just going to kind of move on to another subset of society.
Speaking of punched in the eye.
Right. This is specifically aimed at the folks who just don't want to put something into their body that they don't know anything about, they don't trust, right? This is from our good friends at insider.com. Headline is, men who vape have a higher risk of erectile dysfunction compared to non-vapers. So I have at thee, all you anti-vaxxers, I'm not putting something in my body that I don't know, because men who use e-cigarettes are more than twice as likely to experience erectile dysfunction compared to those who don't vape, according to a study published Wednesday in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. Just a small little rag. In the first effort to study the relationship between vaping and sexual health, researchers have analyzed self-reported data from more than 13,000 men aged 20 and older. Those reported daily e-cigarette use were 2.2 times more likely to report having erectile dysfunction problems compared to men who never vaped, regardless of their other risk factors.
That's insane. Just that, taking everything else out of account. That is what the difference is. That's pretty crazy. Well, good for me is I have never vaped in my entire life. So
It annoys the shit out of me when that dude's just kind of walking on a street in this ginormous cloud of some awful berry flavored tobacco extract, like it hits me in the face. I'm like, great, I'm in my scrubs, I'm walking to work now. I just smell, I just smoke the fucking joint with Snoop Dogg here in the corner. Interesting to note, the article does state that in a smaller sample of men with younger than 65 with normal body mass indexes and no history of cardiovascular disease, the trend persisted. Vapors were 2.4 times as likely to have ED as compared to non-vapors. So even in little specific subsets of this 13,000, they're finding out that there is a significant increase in likelihood of this.
Yeah. Ryan Hansen, I agree with him. The only way to get someone to stop, tell them their dick won't work anymore.
Pretty much, right? And even then, good luck, because at that point, like, well, I can take a pill for that too, because that's kind of where we are with general health and medicine in this country, is that we can always solve things by taking a pill, right? Even if there's diet might be a contributing factor to a lot of these situations too. But yeah, we never know. Just again, wanted to throw a little shade there towards all those anti-vaxxers who are going out there with that ginormous lightsaber like vape machine. That
the whole thing is kind of crazy, right? Like you can do like the little vape, like the little pens that look very discreet big thing, right? It is the assholes who got to have the full fucking tank that produces the giant fucking cloud. Those are the douches of the vaping community, right? And I think even people that vape think those people are bags.
The same dude is going to get into a big oversized, Ford F750 with like the metallic testicles hanging off the back, it's just like, okay, you have to tell us that you vape. Okay, cool. But good luck getting a boner next time, pal.
Right. Yeah. Have at that. Good luck with that, sirs.
Speaking of boners, let's talk about one of my boners. Let's talk about Russia. Let's talk about, we can't go through a show without talking a little Russia, right? This is from France24.com. And this might sound familiar. Tell me where you've heard a variation of this fairy tale before. The headline, not so much, I'll just read it, but don't over-explain it, Brooks. Don't over-explain it, Brooks, the producer in my ear. EU imposes sanctions on Russia mercenary, group Wagner over human rights abuses. The European Union on Monday imposed sanctions on a Russian private military contractor called Wagner Group, as well as 8 individuals and 3 other energy companies in Syria, accusing of helping to finance the mercenaries in Ukraine, Libya, and Syria. This is a quote from an EU official. The Wagner Group is responsible for serious human rights abuses in Ukraine, Syria, Libya, the General African Republic, the Sudan, and Mozambique, says the EU official in a journal, enlisting torture and extrajudicial executions. Wagner personnel have been identified carrying out operations in several conflict zones, including Russia's neighbor, Ukraine. So as we scroll down here, we start to find out that this is an organization financed by a 60-year-old St. Petersburg businessman named Yevgeny Prigozhin, reportedly close to Russian President Vladimir Putin. In fact, they call him Putin's chef or cook because of how close he is to Putin. Wagner Group is financed by this individual and is also now hiring, catch me again if you've heard this before, among those targeted, former intelligence officers, former special forces officers. Yep. In fact, one of these persons was alleged to have personally shot down a Ukrainian helicopter in Ukraine and then received the Russian Federation's Order of Merit for the Fatherland Award. Does that sound Blackwater-ish to you?
It sounds very, but I was thinking in my head, like, this guy is the Russian Eric Prince. Same thing. It's the same idea where you take these guys that are in the military that are very highly skilled at their jobs in the military. And when it comes time for them to leave the military, you say, hey, I got a job for you. We can pay you really, 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 really well. And you just get to keep doing the things that you were doing. And guess what? There's no military terms of engagement.
No rules, man. None.
We don't play by any fucking rules. We do whatever the fuck we want. And nobody says anything to us because we're hired mercenaries. Come on.
Yeah, come on. It cut your own side deals, do whatever you want. Just when the phone call comes, you take that job, right?
So this is again, it's one of those things that for those of you that may not have been listening long term with us, I've brought up before that I have had some friends in the military tell me that Blackwater specifically, put American soldiers' lives in danger because they were acting as if they were American soldiers, and the people that lived in the Middle East believed they were acting as American soldiers, and they were firing first, which is something that American soldiers cannot do. They cannot be the first ones to fire. And so it led these locals to believe that they couldn't trust any American soldiers because they don't know if they're like those other soldiers that just started opening fire at people in the middle of a fucking, town square, like did happen with Blackwater. And it puts real soldiers in more danger, these mercenaries. And that's why it's important that we talk about this and we talk about it and shed a bad light on it, because it's bad on its own, but it's even worse when you understand that it puts American soldiers and any soldiers, in this case, Russian soldiers, lives at risk, at a greater risk for no reason, for really no reason other than money.
And let's be certain, Sardonicus and Chris is onto something. Russia has never, ever cared about a loss of life. Not a once. Never once in their long and storied history has the Russian leadership, let's just call it that, across whatever you want to call it, czars or presidents or premiers or whatever, they've never cared about the loss of life of their own people. They really haven't. Go ahead. You don't just go study some history. They don't care.
Exactly. Study history. There, again, we've talked about it before, but just look at World War II history and what the Russian people did. The people themselves, the citizens, rose up and were fighting as if they were soldiers, and they played a major part in World War II turning around because of exactly that. They didn't care about the loss of life. It was defend the homeland at all costs. Defend the homeland.
Yeah. So when I know I talk a lot about Russia here, but again, like Chris says, it's pieces on a chessboard here. So as all I want to do is look at the chessboard and go, wow, look at all these moves that are being made. Not that I'm super smart and I can see where these are going. I don't. I just have maybe through how do I say this, through some family connections, I guess, have a sensitive spot in history to this particular era, and have been told through my lineage to never trust the Russians. And here we are again. No qualms with the Russian people. I'm sure that there's a Mikhail Broox who's doing a shitty podcast in his neck of the nape somewhere in Russia right now. And God bless that guy, because, I'm on board for that too, comrade. But we're just those people we don't have a qualm with, right? And much like people in the Middle East shouldn't have a qualm with, like me or Ben or anybody like that. You have a qualm with the government, and hey, so do we. Right. So again, I think if you just took a poll of most people living in every country, all they want is to kind of be left alone, live their lives, work a little bit, have a family, whatever their life kick is, and then leave the mortal coil, as they say. Governments are the things that fuck this up until they're delivering you aid and food and clean water and the place to sleep and underwear.
Right.
That's government. Yeah. So maybe we got to focus on reining in our wayward child that is the federal government, for sure. But also don't forget that there are enemies out there, and Putin is certainly one of them. And there is no doubt about it that he's trying to become some form of czar in the old Russian heritage, to have his name next to Peter the Great and all the rest, as he tries to reform Russia, not the Soviet Union, because that was just a moniker for a bunch of failed states that are working loosely together under a military rule. We're talking about the empire of Russia, which, if you know history, is much bigger than it even is right now. So that we're talking about trying to make your own little slice into history here. So he's on a different path. He's on a different level than we are, to be honest with you.
And Ryan makes a comment. Look, World War III will be in Ukraine. It certainly seems by all the news that we're hearing that you bring to the table, Brooks, that Ukraine is definitely one of those like flashpoints, that the point that that ignites something. Because if there's human rights abuses going on, if there are soldiers sneaking over the border, if Russia is purposely flooding the borders to create a false crisis, these are all things that are steps that come right before they do some military shit where we then have to militarily intervene, or NATO has to militarily intervene. And at that point, who knows what the fuck happens? Like anything is possible.
I will say this. It won't be... Yes, the world will be waiting for NATO as a unified response, right? So all the EU nations are all, Germany says, oh, you better not. France says, oh, you better not. And here comes Britain. Hey, we'll sanction you. Poland, quite literally, has been standing there, middle finger pointed to their east for a really long time. And I would say any response, that would be the tip of the spear. And you want to talk about some people that have been waiting a while to kind of punch back a little bit?
Sure,
man. I wouldn't fuck with the Polish people. It might go out in a big poof, but it'll for sure trigger things. I just think that that there are a lot of forces, good and bad, that are kind of pushing this in a way that like nobody really needs.
Yeah,
like you got the media that's feeding into this. That's like you have countries spewing rhetoric that's like, that's maybe a little too much, and then everybody's trying to find some way to appease Putin. Like, and he's coming out and saying some ridiculous shit because he's gotten appeased before. So nobody's really doing the right thing here and just sanctioning the shit out of him, cutting them off from every possible other global market they could, probably in fear of China's reaction.
Sure.
Yeah.
Justin Net in the comments asks a question, and we can answer it. He's asked, so in all seriousness, with how much Biden has flubbed, would you rather have him or 45 back for the lead head of a World War III scenario?
Well, that's like asking, do you want the guy at the plate that strikes out 1 every 3 times or 3 out of 3 times?
Right. I'd rather have the guy that at least has an opportunity to do good. And that would be, in my mind, Joe Biden. I think how much Biden has flubbed, I think that's debatable. I think whatever flubs might be is just that he hasn't he and the Democrats haven't used the power that they have to really push through some things that he kind of promised that he was going to push through, and backtracking on the student debt thing and that sort of thing. But other than that, like, he doesn't have anything to do with the gas prices. He doesn't have anything to do with this inflation bullshit. He isn't perfect. Let me be perfectly clear. He isn't perfect. But if you're asking me who I'd rather have lead the country in a World War III scenario, like, I wouldn't ask Donald Trump to lead this country in any scenario. He showed that in a major scenario where he needed to be a leader, the pandemic, he completely and utterly failed as a leader. And all he did was further divide this country to the point where here we are, where he's not even president anymore, and he hasn't been president for almost a year, and we still can't get on the same page because we weren't led by a leader when this whole thing started. So we had the opportunity to see what Donald Trump could do in a true leadership situation where the whole country has to rally behind him, and he can't fucking do it. He couldn't lead himself out of a wet paper bag.
Well, and let's be clear. The Ukraine Russia situation started at the end of Obama's term, but was escalated and, dare I say, encouraged during 45, let's just say, Trump's term. Um, so the guy who's just going to let Vladimir Putin run all over the place and do things that no other country should, the one that's going to weaken alliances, the only way to actually stop this, besides unilateral action, the guy who famously wet the bed in every tough scenario presented to him as president, shirked responsibility, and then blamed everybody else possible for the failures. Yeah, maybe I prefer somebody. Now, Biden's not true, but Biden's a fuddy-duddy, and sure, probably, um, sure, we have people in North Korea too, and we have people in Vietnam too,
Right.
and we have people in Russia
Yeah,
right now.
and the reason they have
Iran.
people still in Afghanistan, the whole Afghanistan fiasco, was started Trump in an agreement that he made to set a hard date. Now, Justin, you weren't with us when this whole story was breaking, but we talked about how when you set a hard date, right, what happens is the Taliban goes to all these leaders of these small communities around that area, and they have a firm date now to go, okay, once this date ends, you have two options. You either put down your guns, you order your people to put down their guns, and you join us, or we kill you. Those are your options, and now we have a hard date to tell you this is when it's going to happen. And that's why it's so rapidly after we pulled out, it crumbled so rapidly because it was a poor plan to begin with. The whole thing was
Justin, I don't think you understand the irony of your super laggy comment. But I will also say this: if you want to point out these individual failures, not necessarily attributed to a president just because they may have gotten not so great intelligence, what about the 4 U.S. soldiers in Ethiopia that were slaughtered and their bodies dragged 2.5 miles across the desert while Trump was in office? What about that? Where's the Benghazi about that? Right. Listen, if you can't see what Trump was, I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure what you're looking at. And this fervent belief,
grifter. Yeah.
This guy's shown you and told you many, many times what he is. He had anything that you say, we can tell you 3 things that he has done that prove you wrong. So and at this point, it's not worth the showtime to sit there and to go over what we've talked about for years and years and years here now, right?
Exactly.
It's not a matter of who would you rather have, Biden or Trump. I'd rather have the guy in the room that's willing to listen to experts, willing to listen to people who are educated on subject matter with decades and decades and decades of work experience in their field, as opposed to the guy who thinks he's smarter than everybody. Because well-established Topic Thunder house rule, if you think you're the smartest guy in the room, you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
So I'd rather.
And Billy Wack points out he did start, in a way, kind of start a war. He inflamed this American Civil War that we have going on. Like, it started with him and his presidency, and it ended with his reaction to the pandemic. He's done nothing but divide. So he's not a leader, and Biden's not much of a leader either, to be perfectly honest. We need to stop. We need to get away from like 70 and 80-year-olds being the ones that run this country.
True.
Where are the young people that are going to really inspire people to get out and vote? Where are those people?
Justin, you never would have knew who General Miley was until he pushed back and said that, yeah, I used to work for a real fucking moron and I was scared.
Right.
You wouldn't know who the guy was. So to be concerned with what his politics and policies are now, it rings hollow because you're trying to hang your hat on one little thing on a very distinguished career. The guy's got accolades that you can't even comprehend. The guy's got more medals on his chest than the crazy generals that, oh, by the way, do you remember when Trump was saluting a North Korean general? I do. He's the president.
Do you remember when he wanted to invite Taliban generals to Camp David after he released them from prison? Do you remember that?
No, because he doesn't remember that those guys are the guys that are now running Afghanistan and are responsible for all the terrible things that are happening there right
Surprise,
now.
surprise.
So again, Justin, history is kind of the 4-star
Yes,
admiral dude
yes,
chick
I
thing is like
100 believe because her gender or her sexual identity has nothing to do with her ability to be an expert on anything. Why would it preclude her from being an expert because she's a dude chick, as you put it, as you so ignorantly put it? And it makes no sense. You're grasping at straws, Justin. You literally listen to what the right wing people like Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens tell you, and you parrot it here. And we could sit here and dissect and call bullshit on your stuff all night long, but I don't think it's something that entertains the rest of the group. So
I don't know. Justin, it's
so when the first actual female is in that spot, it's okay that a real woman ain't. What is a real woman, Justin? What is a
who's
real woman?
Candace?
What does that even mean? And I mentioned Candace Owens, so he's talking about
Right. Yeah.
it's
Yeah, Justin. I'll just be honest. We beg for people to watch the show all the time, but I'm going to ask you. You're probably participating in the wrong show, unless by some miracle, some lightning strikes, some topic of lightning strikes and hits you and kind of shakes up your brain a little bit. I don't know that we're ever going to see eye to eye on this because I can call bullshit on what you think my side is.
right.
But the fact of the matter is that I don't really have a side, and you're fervently defending one that history will just shit upon.
Yep.
You just give it time. It was awful what has happened under that Trump presidency, if you want to call it a presidency, because I dare you to name one policy. I dare to name one piece of landmark legislature besides a tax break for the 1% that guy did. So I don't know how you measure your presidents, whether it's just because they look good or sound good on TV, or they make you feel good because they talk like you. But I measure them by what they get done for everybody. And that's just not the people that voted for him, but for the people who didn't as well. So we'll see you, I guess, on the other side of history on that. But in the meantime and in between time, I'm going to tell you a way that you could live long enough to see Justin Nett be proven the fool that he is. And that's because of the fine people in Japan doing God's work, trying to reverse aging. Oh, and by the way, it's due to a vaccine. So again, we asked that famous question here on the show. If we had a vaccine to do blah, 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 would you take it? So here's the question. If we had a vaccine to eliminate cells aging, would you take it?
That is a great would you, right? To put that to a lot of people that are on social media railing about how they and guess what? If Justin, if you haven't gone away, I would be interested to hear you answer this question because you are proudly anti-vax. And so I would wonder, would you take a vaccine that could stop aging or eliminate the aging or slow down your aging? I would have no problem doing it. I think that would be fucking awesome. And I think obviously we're going to see something like that sooner than later. If it's already hitting the news, that's going to be a real thing. It's going to be a real thing. Like we're all going to have a real opportunity to live much longer than our parents and our parents' parents and their parents and that sort of thing. Our life expectancy in the next 20 years is going to increase because of medicine and because of science and things like that. I think we're all going to live to see 90, 100 pretty regularly.
So a Japanese research team said it's developed a vaccine to remove so-called zombie cells that accumulate with age and damage nearby cells, causing aging-related diseases, including arterial stiffening and diabetes. The team confirmed that mice administered with the vaccine showed decreases in the zombie cells, medically known as sentient cells, in areas affected by arterial stiffening. We can expect the vaccine will be applied to the treatment of arterial stiffening, diabetes, and other aging-related diseases, the researchers said. Sentient cells refer to those that have stopped dividing So that, all cells like divide. It's just constantly what they do, right? That's just reproduce, right? They've stopped dividing, but they don't die, right? So they become kind of like damaged, and then
Interesting.
they go on to damage other healthy cells nearby by releasing chemicals that cause inflammation. And the more and more we learn about inflammation, the more and more we're going to find out that that's probably one of the root causes for a lot of different diseases and afflictions of the human body, even on a cellular level. So the vaccine enables the body to create antibodies, that world famous term right now, that attach themselves to the sentient cells, which are removed by the white blood cells. So the antibodies identify the bad cells. The white blood cells come in and gobble up the bad guys and just destroy them, which is supposed to be the natural process. But as the cells age, they stop dividing, they tend to linger. And then that's what causes, arteriosclerosis. People have the hardening of the arteries. Oh, I've got to have a triple bypass. That's why you had to have a triple bypass. Is because forget the diet. And if you even had like a high cholesterol, high fat diet, some people are just genetically disposed to have their arteries harden, which means when the blood is pumping through them, sometimes at a very high rate, like the blood coming out of your aorta, like right here on my chest, the blood coming like the highest it's about 100 to 120 psi.
Wow.
That's how strong the human heart is. So any kind of hardening of those arteries will cause damage. And then you start, like, if the plaque starts building up, that's what causes heart attacks and strokes, is when that plaque dislodges due to pressure and blocks blood flow to something. So if you're able to keep basically the blood flowing properly, and maybe this will explain why people sometimes they lose sensation and feeling in their fingers and extremities because of blood loss, because the arteries are just kind of like hardening up and nothing's able to get through.
Mm-hmm.
This is phenomenal research.
It really is. I mean, for a person like me, I don't have a whole lot of phobias. I have like a phobia of heights, but I also have like a huge phobia of death. Right. And I try to not think about it, because if I think about death, I get like I start to get like panicky and like this anxiety that I get. And so to me, like, this sounds amazing, because I want to live till I'm 150. Like I want to live as long as science can keep me living. I want to keep living, because I am petrified of death. Petrified.
It's weird, right? Like but I guess, you know what, we should have a death episode,
Maybe,
which
yeah.
we all kind of bring to the table, like our thoughts on just not only what we think happens when we
You know what
die.
I'm thinking? I'm thinking, Brooks, I bet we can find an expert on the subject for us to interview. I bet somebody wrote a book about it, and we can get them on and interview them about exactly that subject. I think
it would be a neat discussion, because obviously it's a fascinating topic that we all eventually have to confront, and it's one of the only things that we do in our lives that we do alone.
Yep.
No matter how many people you have around you, it's one of the few things that you do alone.
And and there's no stopping it. Right?
Well, so far, but hang on, we're
Japanese
really
folks are figuring it out.
We're pulling for you, Japan. We're pulling for you.
Come on, let's do this.
People were not pulling for the super wealthy. Apparently, the super yacht industry. Have you heard this from your super yacht people?
No.
It's in a boom right now.
Of course it is. Everything's in a fucking boom right now.
So we're talking of boats that are like 50 to 70 million US dollars.
Yeah, like this picture. Look at this fucking picture.
Right, just like that's like a shipyard of boats being built, right? Do you ever if you happen to like a show like Below Deck or Below Deck Mediterranean, this is one of those boats, right? Where you could have a family of 12 comfortably stay in there and have room for a deck crew and a captain and engineers and all that kind of stuff. And there's all kinds of fun. I mean, there's pool tables and multiple dining rooms and bars and
helipads and shit.
Yeah, right. Like we're talking some serious money, right? In the last 20 years, they've never seen a boom like this, according to industry experts. And they're attributing it to people finding value in the freedom and not being constricted by the workplace, and they don't have to go to the office anymore. I wonder another theory. I wonder how much information these people sometimes get as like what's going to happen in this world, right? I don't know. This may have been a disaster movie plot or something like that, but are these people buying yachts knowing that they have a better shot at surviving whatever is coming in the ocean and whatever food stores they get?
Right, because if the tides rise, right, the boat would rise on top of it. No,
it sits in the back of my head a little bit that if you had forewarning, right, that this is, you can't get into space because you don't have that much cash,
right,
but you got enough cash to make yourself a really nice boat that you can survive on. There's even one guy. Where did I read this here? He's
and Chris says that's the plot of Fear of the Walking Dead.
Is it that they try to survive out in the ocean? They're like, fuck this. There's no zombies on the ocean.
I remember I watched The Walking Dead for a while, and then some asshole spoiled it for me. Like spoiled like one of the season ends, and I have never been able to go back because I was so pissed off that I had it spoiled for me. So never spoil TV shows and movies for people. That's just a total dickhead thing to do.
Yeah, don't spoil anything for anybody who might have some interest. It's just unless they ask you to. Yeah, don't do that. It is Waterworld. Oh God, a Waterworld reference. Holy smokes! I think this is the second time. Oh, Elizabeth.
This is like the second time we've had a
Waterworld reference. There's somebody who's very excited out there. In
now I feel like we have to watch. Now I feel like we have to watch the trailer
for Waterworld. Oof. I guess it's better than watching the movie. But yeah, what area is Waterworld? I just want to point out that here's the paragraph. Of the 1,200 super yachts on order or under construction, 27 of them would be more than 100 meters long. Again, 1 meter is 3 feet. 1 meter is 3 feet. It's a 300-foot long boat. The order was by Norwegian billionaire Kjell Ingi Wuki, and his measures 183 meters.
That's a hell of a name. That wins the all name team.
And there's like a line through the O too, so I have no idea if I'm saying that right.
So he's definitely Norwegian in some
this dude's building a boat that's almost like seriously like 600 feet across, and it'll be the biggest in the world. It includes a moon pool.
What the fuck is a moon pool?
It features a submarine that can be deployed for ocean research.
That's pretty cool, man.
And so it's got to be like a cool, like under, like the boat opens up underneath the pool and you get like the ocean.
Oh, I bet that's fucking awesome.
Right?
I bet that's so much fucking fun.
You have to be a billionaire at that point, or a Bond villain to be able to afford or to even think about something like that. Moon
pool. Everybody wants a moon pool.
Who doesn't want a moon pool? Holy smokes. I want 3. Hey, I'm gonna jump a story here, and I'm gonna go to that Chronos story here because I think this is significant. If you work in a digitized workspace, you may have heard of the HR payroll software called Chronos. You may have had to swipe in at a time clock on a piece of hardware that says Chronos on it, and then every 2 weeks, your manager tells you, check your time card in Chronos and make sure everything's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who just got hacked? Chronos hit with ransomware, warns of data breach and several week outage. The HR management platform has already informed major customers like the city government of Cleveland about the attack. UKG, Chronos' parent company, says the vital service will be out for several weeks and urged customers to, quote, evaluate and implement alternative business continuity protocols related to the affected solutions. And
Basically, that's a really wordy way of saying find someone else to do this for you.
Yeah, and again, a fire back is like, wait, didn't we hire you to find, like, shouldn't you have a backup if you get fucking hacked? Anyway, in a statement to ZDNet, UKG said it recently became aware of a ransomware incident that has disrupted Kronos' private cloud, which they said houses solutions used by a limited number of our customers. Anytime a company gets hacked and says, well, it was a limited number of, you can bet your bippy that everybody got hacked.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't
got
a limited
all the
number.
info.
Yeah, definitely not a limited number ever.
Yes, and the company is just trying to save face as they scramble to probably avert many, many lawsuits.
That is a mouthful of BS. That's the perfect way to describe what that statement was.
Absolutely. This is we're going to read a quote from Kronos's executive vice president Bob Hughes. At this time, we are not of let me try to repeat this. At this time, we are not aware of an impact to UKG Pro, UKG Ready, UKG Dimensions, or any other UKG product or solutions which are housed in separate environments and not in the Kronos private cloud. So I guess it's limited to the cloud, but again, we all kind of know how this works, and companies just can't help themselves but to not keep these things separate. There's always some sort of connection. Guess who's really good at finding those connections?
Yeah, people with a lot of time on their hands, like hackers.
Like hackers. Speaking of hackers, I don't know what Tipton Moscow has been up to lately.
Yeah, what is he up to? I wonder.
I
Did
don't
he give us
know.
another submission?
He did, and I'm a little bit worried now.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Headline.
Speaking of death.
Right. Switzerland legalizes suicide. And here's everything that you need to know. Now, he sent a link.
It's
And I
not
was
just suicide. It's
no.
a suicide pod.
Right. So, euthanasia has been a matter of debate for years owing to the moral repercussions society brings forth with it. The act of taking away a human life, whether with or without the person's consent, definitely raises eyebrows in almost every society. But Switzerland has brought forth their invention to promote and normalize new societal norms. The machine being used for the event is a coffin shape known as the Sarco, a nod to the phrase sarcophagus, which is a, quote, stone coffin typically adorned with sculpture or inscription and associated with the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Rome, and Greece, end quote. The machine serves as a coffin for the user as a biodegradable capsule detaches from the base. So as I read ahead, it's a 3D printed capsule that you kind of slip into that is very coffin-esque. And well, let's get to it. How do you die in here?
Right? I'm just gonna leave this picture up because I think people need to see what they're gonna die in while they hear this.
It's actually pretty horrifying, but apparently you don't feel or realize a thing, as this machine basically deprives you of oxygen but fills the chamber with other breathable gases, so you're not going to like asphyxiate, like choke to death.
Right.
You're going to still breathe, but they fill it with nitrogen, but they pull the oxygen out, which slowly, within a minute, will kill you slowly.
Jesus.
Apparently you feel this sense of euphoria before passing out, and then
you're
die. You're dead.
Yeah.
The device was developed by a gentleman named Dr. Philip Nitschke, which there's a picture in the article, and I asked, like, if people are calling you Dr. Death, Philip, why are you taking a picture like that and throwing that kind of like that look about the persona here, unless you kind of really dig it.
Yeah, look at this guy. I'm bringing it up here. Hold on. Yeah, this guy looks like a guy that would develop a death fucking thing.
Like, I don't know if you're into it or just trying to, like, maybe somebody told you this was a good idea to take that picture and that kind of angle. But apparently this guy's been working on self-assisted suicide for quite some time. And again, we're not here to debate the virtues of that.
It's funny, though. We've now talked about death on both ends of the spectrum, right? Trying to live longer and trying to live shorter, right? On both ends of it. There are people that are actively trying to live longer, while clearly there are people that want to commit suicide, and they want to do it in the most, I guess, quote unquote, humane way possible, the most painless way possible. But yeah, it's interesting to look at both ends of that spectrum, right?
So I found this art. This is not the article that Tipped in Moscow sent me, because he sent me an article and I was like, I need to know more. So I found this other one. And the reason I read this article is for these next two paragraphs in a sentence.
Okay.
Suicide is not the selfish act that it has been portrayed over the years. It is every person's right to choose whether they want to end their life, and unfortunately, even if we feel sad about someone's decision, we have no right to force our opinions on them. However, the decision is an extremely permanent one. So we implore you to think over it, and please try to get help if you or anyone you know requires it.
Yeah.
Death is not the answer to any problem you might be suffering through. Your life is extremely precious as you are. Please do seek help if you think you're suffering mentally, or if anyone close to you seems to be. Do not hesitate to reach out to anyone you might feel comfortable with. Aaron Morris.
We are talking
Moving
directly to
on.
you.
Moving on.
Oh.
Hey, we love on this show to talk about all the things, all the great things that have come from the sky, right? Most of the time, they're rocks that kind of jolt the planet a little bit. Starting tonight, you can see perfect example of what we're talking about. Because tonight starts the Geminid meteor shower, ladies and gentlemen. And if you live in North America at about 2 or 3 in the morning, tonight should be the peak of the meteor stream. But it will go on. The shower itself will go on for the next couple of days here in North America, so long as clouds aren't obstructing your view. So if you want to see what things look like as they're flying in at astronomical speeds and burning up at temperatures that would, make your chili hotter than to eat. I don't know what that means. Look up in the sky tonight, because we are legitimately passing through the tail of an old asteroid and the debris that it has kept up and in its own orbit. So go check out some meteors tonight if you're up that late, because I might be up that early to be able to see them. So I
promise you, I'll be asleep at that point. I mean, it's really cool, but I will be sleeping.
I don't know, living downtown in a major metropolis like this with all the ambient lights of the city, if I'll be able to see anything, there'd have to be a really spectacular meteor coming through for me to be able to see it, probably. But when I walk the living shit machine that is the Fiona the Great here tomorrow at 5 in the morning, I'll have my head up looking for asteroids streaking across the sky.
Speaking
of,
like, because that was just set up too fucking good.
Amen, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. I know what time it is, and Ben most certainly knows what time it is. It's time for you to put those lightning bolts in the chat room, because it's time for the lightning round here on Topic Thunder, your favorite segment.
I know you guys can barely hear the music, but it's there.
It's there. We're rocking out in the cans here. Again, your favorite segment, one that we stretch out and tease all the way to the very end, just to try to get more people to listen to the show consistently. So thanks, folks. You know the rules. 3 stories enter the Thunderdome. 1 story gets read, and it is your vote that matters here, like any good democracy. Without any dilly-dally, let's get to it. Headline number 1. Doctor claims eating cow poo can help during childbirth, and he's tried it himself. Headline number 2. Dozens of camels have been barred from a Saudi beauty contest because of Botox. Let that sink in, folks. And headline number 3. Police say man used flamethrower to settle parking dispute.
This is a tough one.
Chris,
This
you're
is
on
one
to
of the toughest lightning rounds that we have had in months.
So let's do that again.
That's
Chris is
tough.
onto it.
I gotta absorb that one more time. Yeah.
So headline number 1. Doctor claims eating cow poo can help during childbirth, and he's tried it himself.
Was he giving birth? I got so many questions.
So many questions. Headline number 2. Dozens of camels have been barred from a Saudi beauty contest over Botox.
Okay.
And headline number 3. Police say man used a flamethrower to settle a parking dispute.
Adrian with an early vote. She didn't need to hear him a second time. She already knows she's going with the flamethrower story. So
Woman
here's
after my
one
own
vote.
heart right there.
Doctor tries cow poop to help with childbirth.
That's a vote
amazing.
for story number 1.
Gigi going with flamethrower as well. As a Chicago citizen, I definitely considered taking a flamethrower.
Right.
Dr. Shit Breath, Camel Toe No More, and the Flaming Rager. Dr. Shit Breath is tremendous. That is
Camel Toe No More is a direct Faith No More reference, and I applaud you for your efforts. That's the reason I tune in to the lightning round, is for Mr. Ryan Hansen to deliver the goods there.
Indeed.
So far we've only
He's
got
going
3
with number
votes.
3 as well. So there's 3
All
votes
right.
for the flamethrower.
So 4 votes.
Yeah. Okay. Aunt Chris, the Dr. Shit. Like how the flamethrower is great, but this guy is advocating for eating poop for childbirth, and he's done it himself. You don't have questions. You don't have questions of why he was eating poop for childbirth because he doesn't give birth to children. Come on.
We got a Firebird.
Yes, that's
Courtney.
4. I mean, that's man. I think
It's going a certain way right now.
Aunt Chris, me and you, I think I would have voted for Dr. Shit as well. Dr. Shit
The
Breath.
ship doctor. They call me Dr. Shit Breath. Uh-oh.
He wants Dr. Ryan Hansen's changing his vote.
Uh-oh.
Adrian, I don't need a man telling me anything about child.
Seriously, now, thanks to Ryan
He
Hansen.
ate it and is convinced it works. I agree, Billy Wack. I can't believe. Did you? Yeah. Is that an official vote for that? I think so. We've got to. It's close, but
we're now tied. We're now tied.
Oh man! So we need someone. Is Mama Jordan listening? I know she texted me to find out if we were on. We need someone to break this vote. Someone, or else, because Brooks can't vote. Like he's the one that brought them to the table. So, Ma Jordan, who is on Twitch, by the way, yes.
Ma Jordan, let me
she
read
missed it,
these
so-
for you.
Yes,
Let me read these.
thank you.
Yes,
Thank
just
you.
for you. This is the Mama Jordan special right here. All right. Headline number 1. Doctor claims eating cow poo can help during childbirth, and he's tried it himself. Headline number 2. Dozens of camels have been barred from a Saudi beauty contest due to Botox. And headline number 3. Police say man used a flamethrower to settle a parking dispute.
All right, Mom, you are the deciding vote. Unless you pick number 2, and then that just throws this whole thing.
The whole
in
thing.
flux.
But I really want to hear about the camel. In which case, we'll do the camel story.
Right, exactly. Mom wins on that one, right? We need a little bit of a lag, but either story is tremendous. Kudos to you for, again, one of the hardest decisions that we've had. Module number 3, flamethrower it is.
Oh, flamethrower it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the story can only take place in one state.
Florida, it has to.
Let's as we you know what, here, let's do everybody a favor, some live show antics here. I'm gonna send this story over to Ben so Ben can put it up on the old screen. But yeah, and I believe it's even better than just regular old Florida. I believe it's Gainesville, which that's a special breed right on out there. In fact, it is. It's Gainesville, Florida. Dateline. Hello. A Gainesville man, angry over his neighbor's parking habits, sprayed fire from a commercial flamethrower toward a car with 3 teenagers inside, police said.
Oh!
No one was hurt. Andre Abrams, 57, of Gainesville, is facing 3 counts a felony aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intending to kill, according to court records. He posted a $15,000 bond last week and is awaiting a decision on whether prosecutors will formally file criminal charges. The mother of one of the teens, Ashley Gainey, said Abrams frequently sprayed the flamethrower to scare off guests at her home.
Oh my
Gainey's
God.
daughter fled the car with her friends as Abrams continued to spray flames towards them, police said.
God.
When he shoots it, it lights up the whole road, Gainey said. It's like it's daylight outside. He'll do it in the middle of the night. Now, this guy just seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, this guy seems like a real fucking great neighbor to have.
In his arrest report, police identified the weapon in the November 30th incident as a XM242 light flamethrower. Huh, that pussy got the light. What a pussy.
Yeah. What a puss.
Which shoots flames up to 20 feet and is manufactured by X Products LLC of Vancouver, Washington. It sells for about $900 online.
Wait a minute. They're burying the headline, if you will. The headline here is that I can buy a flamethrower for $900 online. Why have I not done this already?
20 feet. 20
Adrian,
feet.
I know you can hear me. We're getting a flamethrower. I have a machete. I'm also getting a flamethrower. Fuck it.
Anybody who's lived in the Midwest and has dealt with snow has always wondered if they could just take a flamethrower as opposed to shoveling.
$900 is accessible. I agree.
Yes, you don't have to worry about throwing out your back or having a big grabber or a shovel in the snow because it's too heavy or all that kind of shit. Like no slips and falls. Just you can light it. It's Christmas time. Light that street up with your fucking X model XM42 light flamethrower.
This is not the guy himself. This is a much more attractive person.
Look at that outfit right there. Who's decided that? Like, this is safe.
Right. Let's have her in these really short shorts and boots with this giant fucking flamethrower.
Fake leather jacket, which is highly flammable, but no,
right,
tell
the
her
whole
that.
thing is she would just have that like burned into her skin if she.
Oh God, yes. The company, which also sells T-shirts identifying to wear as a little terrorist, requires buyers to accept a liability waiver and affirm they've never been convicted of a felony, domestic abuse, or arson. Abrams was twice convicted of a misdemeanor domestic battery after arrests in 2002 and 2004. It wasn't clear whether police had seized the flamethrower.
What?
What?
They've seized so much worse. Like, why wouldn't they have seized the flamethrower?
What? Wait, this guy, what? He
Florida
went
police.
after 3 teenage girls with a flamethrower that spits flames 20 feet, and they didn't take it away from him?
Yeah, you can have this back. Like, has he shown the ability to responsibly use the flamethrower? I don't think so.
Now we know you've learned from this, and you're not going to be spitting flames at innocent human beings anymore, are you?
I'm sure you won't be mad at those people that called the cops on you, but unbelievable.
Funny enough, in the U.S., there are no federal laws regulating the sale of flamethrowers, which
answers Aunt Chris's question. She just asked, "Do you need a FOID card for a flamethrower?" No, you don't.
Apparently, they're not considered firearms.
Oh man,
just go to black after
this
that
shit
one,
writes
I think.
itself.
No federal statutes or limitations of flamethrowers. I think I know what I want for Christmas.
For real. I'm gonna post video of me with I'm getting a flamethrower. Fuck it.
I'm getting a flamethrower. It's a
Fuck
quote. It's a quote of this ripened year.
Yeah.
And speaking of the ripened year, we're kind of coming to the close of the year. So, ladies and gentlemen, we really, really, really appreciate all the support and love we've gotten from you as the show continues to kind of grow and evolve. We do promise some pretty big changes and upgrades in the coming year as things kind of, again, continue to evolve. So we'll have a little bit of a Christmas show. Well, I think
I guess we can reveal. We talked about it in the in the last couple of weeks that we wanted to start incorporating interviews back into the show. And we actually have our first interview lined up. We just got to coordinate schedules this week. But we are going to record hopefully an interview that we'll be able to play, hopefully if schedules permit, this Sunday, but if not, in the near future. So we are going to be recording some interviews to play for you in this coming year. I think that's a cool new added segment that we can bring to you guys. It's just something that breaks it up a little bit in the middle of the show between headlines and the lightning round when we don't have something like the big to talk about.
Yeah, and probably pare down on some of the silly stories, chasing these phantoms of Russian interference and all that other kind of crazy
and
stuff.
I will say, I did get some feedback from the crowd. They did like our scientific, science-rific, I should say, episode last week. That was kind of a change of pace. So maybe more of that, where we kind of change the pace a little bit every once in a while, just to not be so yelly and ranty.
We try not to be overtly political to the point where we want to, I don't want to seem like cramming our political views and down anybody's throat. We just want to bring kind of informational light here and have a healthy discussion about these things. So that's what Topic Thunder is all about, and that's what we try to bring to you every Monday night here. Of course, now on the Twitch stream, as we kind of transition away from all of the things that are behind us now and move into the future and what is ahead of us. So from Ben, from the desk, the editor's desk of Topic Thunder, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Share with your friends, tell everybody who's listening and not listening that they should listen and have a good time like you do. So, like Mom Jordan does. So everybody, thanks again for listening. We'll be back next Monday night with another edition of Topic Thunder.